Joey Aguilar is transferring from UCLA to Tennessee. That puts Tennessee back at 3 scholarship quarterbacks, Jake Merklinger and George MacIntyre. So what happens next? The quarterback battle, what do you make of it as they now have a new-look quarterback room?
Well, I think right now if you're Tennessee, you're just making sure that, you can keep everybody you've got, and that includes the quarterback position. You never know in this realm what kids are going to do. But, you got a couple of days left before the portal closes, and you want to keep all your players. Tennessee's done a nice job of that. Losing Larry Johnson's a blow just because of depth at the tackle position. But nobody else that they've lost, you're like, oh gosh, that's going to be debilitating to the team. So as long as you're staying at the current 3 quarterbacks you got, then you've got a healthy competition going into fall camp, and that's what this is going to be. I thought all the reaction from everybody of calling Jake Merklinger QB1 and all that stuff that happened. I thought that was too drastic. I think calling Joey Aguilar, QB1 is too drastic. I think it's going to be a competition, and Joey Aguilar is going to be behind the 8 ball. He's not going to get here till summertime because he has to finish out his requirements in the quarter system at UCLA. He's going to have to come in. He's going to hit the ground running. There's going to be a lot of Zoom sessions between now and when he gets here with Joey Halsley, because that's how he can learn functionally between now and then. And so, he's going to have to hit the ground running, and he'll be behind the 8 ball compared to George MacIntyre, who's been here for 5-6 months, and Jake Merklinger, who's been here for a year and a half. And so, we'll see kind of where it goes from here. But a good old quarterback competition. We've not had one in a while, and so thus it's going to make things interesting come August.
Now that Tennessee knows who the quarterbacks are going to be, maybe it's easier to get a receiver from the portal. Where does Tennessee stand on adding a playmaker on the outside from the portal?
Well, one would think they're going to add somebody, right, Jason? You look at kind of where this thing, has went, and didn't get Trayshawn Hurry to campus. He committed to Louisville early in the week, the San Jose State transfer. Now they have Keelan Marion coming in, the BYU wide receiver, this weekend. We'll see where things go from there. He's visiting Miami and SMU and another spot or two. Tennessee needs another receiver. They don't need to, in my opinion, because I think that stunts the growth of guys that are younger that you really like this spring, right? Rodarius Jackson had a great spring. Same thing with, Travis Smith. And then they like, Joakim Dodson. So I think you only take one. You need one, though. To not have at least one, to me, is not a smart move just because of depth. And so it'd be interesting to see if they can, get anybody to the finish line here. Nycar is someone they recruited out of high school, but he's not experienced. Not like Keelan Russell, or not Keelan Russell, but the kid from BYU is. And so, that's to me, that's important here. Just taking a younger guy that has no experience, it would help your depth. But it doesn't help the room, which really lacks experience at this point. You need somebody that's kind of went through the grind, so to speak. And I think that'll be important as they try to find a receiver to add to this room.
Also, PriceVolquest.com. I think another reason why you need one receiver and not 2 AP, the market for receivers is not cheap. So you're going to have to pay for a really good receiver with experience. Easier to pay for one good one with experience and pay him a lot rather than trying to pay 2 receivers. What do you think about that take?
No, that's a great take. Now, here's the other thing is,
Thanks.
Are they willing the receiver position, as we all know, receivers, Jason, are divas. So the divas want the money. So when you factor that in, is Tennessee willing to pay high on a guy that may not be, but a backup like that? Because I think they like who they have as kind of their quote unquote starters leaving spring. Mike Matthews is going to start. Chris Brazzell is going to start. Braylon Staley, in my opinion, will start. So, if you're bringing somebody in and you don't think they're going to be a starter, but they still want starter-type money, are you willing to do that? Because I think that's an interesting part of all this as well, because even if you're a backup these days, some of these players, especially in the spring window, they want starter-type money because they feel like teams are a little more desperate because teams are like, I got to get a receiver, I got to get a safety, I got to get whatever. And so they're a little more desperate to bring players in. So do they overpay? That's another interesting dynamic here is, will Tennessee be willing to do that for somebody that may or may not be a starter?
Austin Price, Volquest.com. What's the latest in Tennessee pursuing immediate defensive line help through the transfer portal? And is there any other position you think Tennessee might try to address?
Well, I think there's a chance they would try to address something at linebacker potentially. Both Jaden's, Perlotti, and Harmon, they missed spring. They're true freshmen. But again, that's another instance where you're like, you like Arion Carter, you love Edwin Spillman, Jeremiah T. Lander. So you're bringing somebody in to be your third or fourth linebacker. So, finding people to be backups is extremely hard in my opinion, because most people that are going in the portal this time of year want a chance to play and a chance to start. As for defensive linemen, Tennessee's going to bring in Marcus Burris, the Indiana transfer. This weekend he'll be here Friday and Saturday. Joel Starling, the North Carolina defensive lineman, they pushed his visit back. It may be late in the weekend, early first part of next week if he's able to make it to campus. They've got the kid coming in from Grand Valley State that I think Rodney Garner has evaluated and likes a good amount. So, there's a handful of defensive linemen that Tennessee is taking a look at. And, of course, they had Mason Nelson in over the last couple of days from Western Michigan.
Austin, a lot of focus on the transfer portal and immediate activity. What about on the recruiting trail? What would stand out as the top storylines, talking points right now with Tennessee football in recruiting?
Well, I think Tennessee made a move for Savion Hyder. I think they were a little bit behind Michigan and Georgia and Ohio State. I think they're now on par with those teams after his most recent visit here a couple of weeks ago. And I think they're on level playing field going into official visits in June, which, will be when a lot of the moving and shaking kind of gets panned out here over the next couple of months. So I think that's a big talking point, because to this point, Tennessee never went big on a premier offense or a premier running back in the Josh Heupel era. He's the number one running back in the country. So can you get that one done? I think that will be an interesting, talking point for the next couple of months. Tennessee obviously wants to continue to hammer home in state with Joel Wyatt and players like that. And then, they're still swinging on Tristan Keys. Kelsey Pope is out, visiting him later today and tomorrow. And then, Tennessee with Joey Halsley was out, visiting with Faison Brandon last night. So the coaches are out and about. Going to see Craig Tutt was one that Tennessee was out to see out of the mid-state, this week. And so the coaches are out and about, and they're, that spring evaluation period, very, very important as well for the coaches in the next couple of weeks.
All right, next time you talk to Faison Brandon, ask him if he wants me to pick him something here up at Dick's. We got to make sure we protect Faison Brandon at all costs. We got to keep him. So I got some Tennessee gear I'm looking at, AP. Let him know, man. I can send it to him in the mail if he needs it.
I'll let him know.
Faison is very important for the 2026 class. Fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just continues to impress, and great kid, great family. And we'll see where it all goes. But right now, he's shown no interest in looking at other schools, visiting other schools. He's been as solid as they get. Other schools are going to keep coming. LSU's going to keep calling. North Carolina's going to keep calling. With the in-state factor, he's going to continue to field phone calls. The question is do any of them get serious between now and December? As of right now, the mid part of April, it doesn't feel that way. Actually, we're the back part of April now. So
he is Austin Price. He and the team are keeping you up to date on what's going on with Tennessee football. That's in the transfer portal. That's recruiting. That's the team itself getting ready for the season, plus basketball, baseball. Volquest.com to read, see, and hear the guys work. Austin, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good, great. Sounds good, guys. I appreciate you.